Lowdown Nation, welcome to episode 27 of the Lowdown with Matt. Had a little technical difficulty with the opening montage, but hey, that's all right. If it weren't, it wouldn't be a live stream without some technical hiccups here and there. It is my pleasure tonight to have with me Jermaine and Charles, who are two members of the band Tricord. Welcome aboard, guys.
Hey, how are you doing? How are you,
Doing
Matt?
awesome. Doing great. Doing great. So, uh, Charles was telling me that y'all are also from here in Georgia.
Yes, sir. We're Georgia boys, South Georgia boys.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm about 30 miles northeast of Atlanta. Whereabouts in South Georgia are you guys?
Between Brunswick and Savannah.
Oh,
We're in
nice,
a little,
nice.
little town called Jessup and Little Wissy.
Okay, okay. So, getting into the meat and potatoes here, how long have you guys been playing music collectively and individually?
Collectively, as a band, we've been playing for a little over 4 years. Individually, I have been playing music for 23, almost 24 years. I started off as a saxophonist.
Nice, nice. My wife actually played tenor sax in the band in high school.
Get out of here. I'm a tenor saxophonist.
Nice,
I play
nice.
tenor and soprano still to this day.
Awesome, awesome. So, what about you, Charles?
Uh, Seriously playing probably 26 years. I messed around on drums a few times when I was like 3, 4 years old. But I got my first acoustic guitar when I was 8, and I'm 34. So yeah, 26 years, and I play a little bit of everything I've touched so far: guitar, bass, drums, a little bit of piano. That's probably my weakest link, but I still have fun when I do mess around with it.
Nice, nice. So, and this is directed to both of you guys. Have you taken lessons at any point, or are you pretty much self-taught? How has that gone?
Uh, Combination of both for me. I play a lot of instruments. I would say saxophone, piano, and drums were self-taught. Bass. Me learning bass. It was one of my mentors started teaching me, and I just kind of took it from there.
Gotcha, gotcha. What about you, Charles?
I've never had any lessons. Growing up, I did have people in my circle. A cousin that plays, and some friends that play at school, and a family friend that played, and just watching them. Learning different things from them. And I didn't grow up with a computer or anything, so I had to learn everything by ear. But yeah, never had any lessons. I was in choir all throughout school, but I forgot how to read sheet music and all that. I just play.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, tell me about your current gear and live setup. What do you play live? What do you play through? Any effects or pedal boards, that kind of thing?
Um, Caught me with my pants down here. Okay, so this is my ridiculous little music room setup type deal that is
Nice.
way too small for the gear I have in here. I don't use I don't use the half of it really. As far as what I use on stage, mainly this 7-string Schecter. Oh, Rob, you messed me up. Can't see my finger anymore. What happened? Okay, where'd my face go? Anyways, I usually play this one. I use this one as a backup, and this is my drop tuning guitar that I use mainly when we're playing. shows or services. This for big events. Man, why is it so small now? I don't like that, Rob.
Sorry.
Well, I'm not tech savvy at all. Anyways, this for big services. One of these for smaller events or when we're trying to pack light. This is my old pedal board that I was recently made to retire. For one that fits in a backpack over there. Yeah. So, anyways, I guess I have a bit of a problem, but uh, I like having nice things.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. You know, gear is an addiction. That's for
Oh
certain.
yeah, for sure.
So, you know, as we can see from your room there, you know, musicians tend to collect gear. Do any of you have anything really unique in your gear collection that you'd like to talk about? Anything unusual or strange or odd?
Of course, Charles does.
I've had instruments.
Other than a 1963 Gibson, I would
Nice.
say probably the most unique thing I have was actually one with a $20 raffle at one of our first big events in South Carolina, Get Revelation Rock Fest. It's an iconic custom Telly style guitar signed by
Oh,
Darius
nice.
Rucker.
Oh, very cool.
And I won't brag anymore, guys. Y'all can have it.
I wouldn't say that this is super unique, but it's interesting. I always get like wide eyes or like side heads. You know, people turn their head to the side when I talk about it. But the bass that I use, it's a 1989 PV Millennium, and it's I'm a very modern type guy, all digital things. You know, my studio's all upgraded tech stuff and everything. But when I played this 89 PV, and it's all the original hardware, all the original stuff, like nothing's been upgraded, modified, or anything. It's probably like the meatiest, clankiest bass that I've ever played. And I actually moved to that from a Music Man Stingray, and it's really nice. And I get a lot of compliments on it, just the style and the way that it sounds and all that stuff. So it's not, like I said, it's not super unique or super special, but it's really special to me that it's so old school and you know, all, like I said, all the original parts and everything, and it's just beautiful. It sounds amazing.
Very cool. Well, now that you're here, Rob, I've actually got a question that's specific to you, and that is, do you have a preference yourself between 4 and 5 string or higher string count basses?
Yeah. So first of all, sorry I'm late. I'm getting work done in the studio and totally lost track of time. But yeah, so I do prefer 5 bass, 5 string basses. And I've played them all. I played 4 string, I played 5 string. I've even had a 6 string at one point. And so I just prefer the 5 because I feel like it's more diverse than the 4 string, but it's not overdoing it. Like when I played the 6 string that I used to have, I just thought that it was just overdoing it. It was just too much. There was really no, at least for me anyway, I was just going to speak for myself. There was really no use for me to use that really low end string. But the 5 string, like the Millennium that I have, it's a 5 string, and having that low B, you know, especially for the music that we're doing, rapcore and stuff like that, it really brings out like that bottom end. You know, when me and Corey, our drummer, when me and him match up on those kicks, and I use that low B string, it really brings out that thump, that meatiness, that low end that you can kind of get when you use like an 808 in a track or something like that. And so it's great. But then, you know, the other 4 strings, you know, are again, because of the bass that I use, I can go from using that super low B and having that really like rumble the stage type of sound all the way up to be, getting really, really nice runs, very clear and everything like that. And so I think a 5-string is really good for diversity, for the purposes of diversity and stuff.
Absolutely. So this is a question for all of you. I asked this, to the bass players that I talk to, because there's a bit of comedy to it, and that is, how often do you change strings?
Oh man. All right, hey, look, I want to know what Jermaine's answer is, because he was the bass player for Tricord before I was, and I want to know how often he changed his strings so I can make fun of him a little bit.
Okay. Before we started playing like a whole lot, I would change my strings probably. Okay, so this is going to sound horrible. Understand what I'm about to say. So my first bass I ever purchased was in 2014, and it was a PV Milestone, a 4-string bass. That is my baby. I still have it to this day. One of my friends is borrowing it right now because he's learning bass. But literally, I had no strings on that guitar for like 2 years straight, man, before I changed them. And so when we started Tricord, I started changing them, like, it started off once every 6 months. And now it's I would say I change strings probably once every 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months for me.
So for me on my bass, 2 years actually isn't that bad. I've known guys that bass players that go 5-6 years without changing their strings. It also really just depends on your string quality too. If you get there's just a really good quality stuff, you can go years and years without changing and it still sounds great. Me personally is on average about a year. I'll keep them on there for about a year. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more. It really depends on how much I play. Like this year, we're touring a whole bunch. So probably at the end of the year, when touring season dies down, I'll probably end up changing the strings.
Gotcha. I always ask that. The main reason I consider it a comedy question is bass strings are not cheap. You practically have to take out a second mortgage on your house to restring your bass. I mean, it's so
bass strings usually last forever though too. So
they do. They hold up.
I probably capped a little bit. It probably was like 4 or 5 years before I changed those strings. It was a long time. Like literally, I don't think I changed them. I think the first time I actually changed them was right before I moved to the church that I met Charles at. And I think I changed them a year before I met Charles. So it's been a long time, man.
That's crazy.
So what about you, Charles? Being the guitar guy, how often do you change your strings?
Talking about a second mortgage. Usually, it depends on the guitar, because my backup guitar doesn't get used as frequently, so I'll usually restring it before a long run of services or a tour. The ones that get used heavily, as soon as they start to lose their tone or they start turning, that black nasty color, they gotta go.
Yeah.
So that's usually maybe every 3 months at the most.
Gotcha. Okay. This is directed to all three of you. Who would you say are your individual musical influences?
Who wants to go first? Go, Charles.
Right.
I'm pointing to you guys. I was like, somebody else.
Yeah, but you know what you want to talk.
Well, I read the questions. I was ready. Anyways, I guess my biggest influence on guitar would be John Frusciante from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the greats, of course, Hendrix. I mean, I could sit here and name off a list of them, but I've kind of picked and pulled and listened to different ones over the years, and my all-time favorite would be John Frusciante.
Okay. Who's next?
Go, Rob.
So I got a couple actually. In regards of like precision and accuracy and technique, I'd have to say John Myung from Dream Theater.
Dream Theater. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm nowhere near his skill level, but I take my precision and my technique very, very seriously. I don't allow myself to play super, super sloppy. And so he's a huge inspiration because if you just watch the guy, like his technique and finger placement is exactly perfect every single time.
Yeah.
So
he's otherworldly.
He's crazy. The whole crew is crazy.
Oh yeah.
So that's one of them. Another one, more of on a creative side, I'd have to say Flea. Dude's just wild. He's super, super hype all the time. He's super, super creative with everything he does on the bass. Him, and honestly, again for creativity, probably Victor Wooten as well. Again, super, super creative, super creative, super, super hype. And so I like to combine, being precise and having precision with the creativity and the fun side of it. Like when we get on stage and jump around and everything. Because I feel like if I'm more precise when I'm sitting down practicing, I will make, at least I hope, fewer mistakes when I'm jumping around the stage with, this crazy frontman right here.
Well, frontman, go ahead. Who are your influences?
Literally on bass guitar, Rob just named my 3 biggest influences. Yeah, Victor Wooten is probably my absolute favorite bassist on the planet, man. Just his versatility is just unreal to me. He's just so fun to listen to and so fun to watch, and he's just watching him play, like the smile that's just on his face. You just absolutely know the guy loves doing what he's doing, and to me that's a huge thing because I feel like it's so easy as a musician to get lost in get lost in sometimes the creative aspect or get lost in the performance aspect and forget the joy of what you're doing for. We're not musicians because we just want to make a big buck, because first of all, being a musician or being an artist in general is just such a saturated it's just such a saturated field. So you cannot, just side note advice, if your mindset is I want to make millions or be X, Y, and Z doing this, then you might as well just stop doing what you're doing, because you'll lose the luster and the love for what you're doing. So those artists, to me, they're just all fun to watch, and they're all fun. They love doing what they do. And that's a huge thing to me.
Oh, absolutely. So, what was the very first concert each of you attended as a fan?
Oh man,
very first one. Okay, this is gonna sound funny. As a fan, the very first concert, I grew up pretty broke and poor, so I didn't really get a chance to go to concerts till I was an adult. The very first concert I remember going to was, please don't laugh at me, was Winter Jam.
Nothing wrong with that.
So Winter Jam was the very first concert I ever went to, and man, it was top tier to me.
Oh yeah,
I am a huge fan of. I never really cared for secular rap growing up. I would listen to it, of course, but I'm a huge fan of Christian rap. So like Lecrae, Neo, KB, all those guys from like Reach Records and even beyond, I'm huge fans of theirs. And so anytime I've gotten a chance to go to any of their concerts, it's always been one of my absolute favorites.
Lecrae is very talented.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the very first show I ever got to go to, this used to be this hole in the wall venue called the Seven venue here near Atlanta, and it doesn't exist anymore. I don't know when they shut it down, years and years ago, but there was a band that used to play there all the time, and I still have their CD. I still listen to their music all the time. It's called the Showdown. And these guys were so freaking good. They were your stereotypical, like all the band had black long hair, and the front man had long blonde hair, and these guys were hardcore, man, and they were precise, but they were fun. And I remember the very first time I got to go see them with my dad. They were, as with small venues go, they were having to load their gear back onto their trailer right outside the front doors of the venue. And so we ended up going out there, and my dad ended up starting a conversation with these guys. And so we got to hang out and talk to them, and they gave me a free white on white t-shirt, which nobody does, right? Nobody makes white on white t-shirts. And so that was really, really, it was like, he was like, yeah, man, this is a one-off. This is a mistake. You can just have it. And yeah, it was a great experience. I think that was my, as far back as I can remember, that was my earliest concert to go to as a fan.
Awesome. What about you, Charles?
My first concert, I was kind of like Jermaine. I didn't go to concerts until I was older. But my first one would, of course, be the Red Hot Chili Peppers with Baby Metal. It was great, but it was during the time Josh Klinghoffer was playing. And I would definitely love to see him again with John.
Gotcha. So, over the course of your musical career, with Tricord or individually, have any of you had the chance to meet any of your musical heroes?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
We definitely have that opportunity now.
Yeah,
man.
We've gotten to play with, like, because I mean we're all pretty young, and so we're getting to play with these groups that are out here that we used to listen to growing up. I think the number one for me to get to meet and just hang out with backstage, we actually opened for them, was Disciple.
Nice.
Back in February of this year, we got to open up for them at Murray Hill Theater, and oh my gosh, it wasn't like a fangirl type moment when Kevin and the guys walked into the room, and the green room backstage. I didn't feel all excited and everything. I never have with guys like this. He's just another person. And we're just
right.
He's just a little bit more famous than we are. But I don't know. It was just really, really cool, knowing their story and knowing how much they've been through and everything. And to actually, sit down and, because we were eating backstage, like share a meal with these guys. It was really awesome.
Very cool. What about you guys? Any similar stories?
Yeah, pretty much. I would say for me is definitely Disciple. For me, Disciple came into my life in a transitional period of my life where I was like transitioning into my relationship with Christ and transitioning into listening to Christian music. And their Dear X album was that album that literally got me through a lot of that transition and a lot of stuff in my life. I became, not long after Disciple, I became a pretty big fan of Spoken, and meeting Matt Baird is so cool, man, because he's so humble and so chill. Like, I can literally text Matt right now and be like, hey, what you doing? And he'll have a whole conversation with me. And I'm like, dude, you're literally one of my heroes. You're just having a conversation with me like I'm just a normal person to you. It's the coolest and craziest thing, man. So getting a chance to meet Spoken has been really cool, and meeting Matt and all.
What about you, Charles?
I honestly thought Jermaine was going to say Newsboys.
Right. Me too.
God.
He piggybacked off Rob, and I was like, did we not forget what happened? Newsboys was definitely up there for me. I grew up listening to more so secular rock and stuff than Christian. So
Mhm.
since I've become part of Tricord, like all the bands we play with and bands that Jermaine and the guys, show me along the way is stuff I've started to listen to. Seventh Day Slumber, Ignescent, Undefeated, all these bands we listen to is pretty much like my playlist with the stuff I used to listen to. But definitely Newsboys in that experience, mainly because we didn't really have any expectations, and throughout the day, each one of us got delegated to have something to do with the Newsboys, and Jermaine took
Right?
the green mushroom. He definitely took the green mushroom.
Okay, yeah, I gotta say that is definitely probably the greatest moment of my life, and the greatest. To answer your question, yeah, that if I had to think about it and take it all back, yeah, totally, man. Getting to rock out on stage with Michael Tate was absolutely the coolest thing that could have ever happened to me in my life, man. And
That
hang
is
out with him
awesome.
backstage. That was even cooler.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, what I'm going to do before we press on, I'm going to flip over to the Instagram tab and see if anybody is saying anything in chat. Looks like we've got a lot of people over there. Wow. Yeah, we've got a real good turnout.
Sweet.
Let's see
Awesome.
here. Broken Bottle Production says Maine looks like he's going to cry.
Oh my gosh.
He does. He cries a lot.
And
Y'all ain't gotta do me like that.
Too late.
let's see here. And so away from music, what are some of y'all's other hobbies and interests?
So Charles, stop pointing at people.
My mic is muted.
You're off.
Anyway. So yeah, outside of music, I do music all the time. It's like my life. Outside of music, so I'm actually vice president of a motorcycle club. And so when I'm not on the road with these guys and, in the studio, working on stuff in the studio, I am on the road, on my motorcycle with my brothers, pouring into one another, because we're really, really about lifting each other up, pouring into one another, being there for one another. All of our wives are involved in the club, so they go riding with us, and so we'll hit the mountains, every chance we get. Pretty much every weekend that I'm actually in town and not on the road for the tour, we hit the road on, go up in the mountains and do stuff like that. So that's probably, outside of music, that's probably the other big thing that I do.
Nice.
I have a lot of hobbies. So fun fact, before, if you were to ask anybody who's known me from my past, like the one thing they can remember the most about me, they'll all say dancing. I love dancing, man. So it's not a hobby I invest in as much anymore because of just how busy music has gotten for us. But dancing is like one of my hobbies. I started getting back into working out. I used to be a workoutaholic, and I've gotten back into working out again. I'm tired of having my breath taken away, jumping on stage, being overweight. So,
You got to do that. You got to do that cardio.
yeah, man. I've gotten back into working out. I'm a family man, my wife and kid, I try to just make sure that I invest as much time, especially in my son, as possible when I'm not on the road and stuff like that. So I'm an adventurer. I'm the extrovert of the group, like the extreme extrovert of the group. So I'm always trying to go out and about and do stuff and be out in nature and just go on some kind of planless adventure, something spontaneous and random, because that's how my life is set up.
Nice.
Just ask these guys.
What about you, Charles?
As far as personal hobbies, and everybody knows it because it's all I do besides music, is hunting and fishing. I really like to hunt and fish. I like going to the beach. When I was in a lot better shape, I used to like skimboarding a lot. I don't know if they make a board that would hold me now. I would still try though, at least once or twice. But as I was telling you earlier, Matt, my wife and I have had a godchild for almost 7 months, and that has become my main hobby recently, other than working church and band. That's pretty much the cycle.
Gotcha. So we're going to get now into the segment where we're actually going to talk about the band. And what I'm going to do, I try to do this in all of these, and that is for people that aren't familiar with Tricord, I'm going to play about the first minute or so of one of your songs, and I picked "Fix Me." I hope that's a good selection for you guys.
That's the
Good
best
choice.
Awesome. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, and like I said, I'll play about the first minute so people can get a taste.
Sweet.
Good choice.
Anyway, like I said, I just wanted to give people a taste. So, tell me about Tricord. How long have you guys been together? How did the band form? Where did the name come from? Stuff like that.
Yeah. All right, cool. I guess I'll do that. All right, so Tricord was the product of the ending chapter of a previous band of mine called Forever in Majesty. Corey, our current drummer, we pulled him in towards the end of that whole entire, segment of my life. And the lead guitarist at the time, at the beginning part of Tricord, was with us too as well. We met up with a producer, got a manager, pulled in a guy who was supposed to be the rhythm guitarist but ended up being the bassist. That's another story for another day. And we changed the name, pulled Charles in. Charles ends up being the rhythm guitarist. We lose that bassist and the lead guitarist, and then we were a three-piece for goodness 2.5 years maybe. maybe even longer. I think 3 years just about. And then we pull Rob in at the beginning of this year. So Tricord comes from Ecclesiastes 4:12. One can be easily defeated, two can withstand, but a triple braided cord cannot easily be broken. And so before we named Tricord, we were coming up with names. Like everybody in the band was coming up with names to try to rename the band from Forever and Majesty to something else. We came up with 42 different names. And Tricord was literally the very last name that we came up with. I was reading my Bible when Tricord hit me. I was reading Ecclesiastes, studying through that, and I was on chapter 4 and reading through that in verses 9 through 12, and boom, it was like Tricord. Oh, cool. So I told the guys about the name. I was like, "Yo, we should. I'm gonna throw in one more name before we vote. I'm throwing this name called Tricord." And I told him where it came from, and the manager was like, "Yo, we just vote and let's just call it Tricord." And so we were like, "Ah, let's just vote for it." So we like narrowed it down from 42 to 20 to 10 to 5 to the last 3, and Tricord ended up being the name.
Nice. So, do any of you play in any other bands or side projects?
Yes, I do. Guilty. Yeah, so along with bass, I also play guitar, mainly 7-string guitar. And I play before I even started with Tricord, I was in a band called Crimson Overtone, and I'm still in that band. And so, and through Crimson Overtone is how I met Tricord. And so I still play with them. And then this year I started touring. I got hired as a touring musician by an artist named Brandon Michael. Again, awesome dude. Ended up meeting him because it's funny. I was with Crimson Overtone. Crimson Overtone led to Tricord, and then Tricord led to Brandon. It's weird. But yeah, so I tour with two other groups total. But the cool thing is that a lot of the stuff that any of the 3 bands or any of the 3 groups or artists are doing this year are doing a lot of stuff together. So like this last weekend, all 3 bands that I play with played a show in Texas, and I was exhausted. It was about an hour and a half of music of nonstop playing for me. All these other guys got to take a break, but I didn't. So I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. It was great. I won't do it again though. That was terrible.
So this is a question actually specific to Rob. You know, bass players are in a partnership of sorts with the drummer as the rhythm section of the band. Tell me about your relationship with the drummer and Tricord. You know, what do you guys do to lock in with each other? That kind of thing.
So first of all, Corey is great. He is probably one of the fastest learning, biggest growth and development guy. As far as like he's just incredible. He's gone so far since when I first met him, and he's still learning and growing and getting better just on a consistent basis. He pushes himself, and so it doesn't take a whole lot for us to lock in with each other, which is a great thing because I live actually 5 hours away from the rest of these guys. They're all in South Georgia. I'm up near Atlanta, so practices are hard for us to do, and so working with a drummer like Corey just really makes the job easier. And of course, I mean, we click on a personal level, right? I mean, we all 4 of us do. But for the rhythm section, we really get locked in. We have a lot of fun on stage. It's one of those things where and I've only experienced this in one other genre, and that was when I used to do worship all the time as a bass player. We'll be jamming or we'll be practicing or something, or like we'll be working on a new song. And, when you're figuring each other out, when you're figuring out those dynamics, especially between bass and drums, in my opinion, it's best to kind of feed off of each other, off of what each other is doing, instead of just bass following what the drummer is doing. It's really cool to see the ebb and flow of like, oh, the bass does something, so the drums adjust to what the bass is doing, and then the drummer does something, and so the next time around, going through that progression, the bass follows the drums on that. And that's the type of relationship that I can definitely say that me and Corey have. There's been several times where we'll be playing something, working on something, rehearsing, whatever the case is, and he'll be doing something on the kick, and I'll try to pick it up. And maybe I might switch it up, and then the next go round, coming back to that same progression, he'll remember what I switched up to, and he'll follow that. And so, like I said, because of Corey's skill and because of his growth that he's had over the last several years, and where he's still growing too, he's a super, super easy drummer to gel with as far as being a bass player is concerned. He's super creative, but like I said, he won't just push forward and try to be in charge of the rhythm section. He'll ebb and flow and adjust with me as well on bass. So it's a great relationship. I love playing with Corey.
Awesome. So tell me a bit about the songwriting process within Tricord. Is there a primary writer in the band, or is it a collaborative thing? And how does your faith influence your songwriting?
Okay. Our process is kind of wild. I guess I'm like the squirrel-brained one of the bunch, and when we try to have a serious practice, I'll start noodling while everybody else is talking and getting ready and stuff. And our past 2 release singles and the one that's coming out in July have all been like just messing around on guitar, and Jermaine's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And we wound up dedicating that entire practice to working on a simple guitar riff, and it just, everybody clicks on a level to where it just flows. Of course, we know where it's coming from, but by the end of a practice, we've taken one guitar riff and created an entire song, and that's how we've done the past 3. And I believe everybody just has ideas of their own to bring to the table, and we kind of mesh them up and come up with some pretty heavy bangers here lately.
Awesome. So how does your faith influence your songwriting?
Sorry, I was trying to
unmute, Jermaine.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute. Faith. That's too easy for me, man. So I guess my main role in songwriting now, especially now that we have Rob, there's no use to me. I still come up with like little bass riffs or like bass melodies and stuff like that, but not to the level as Rob and stuff. And so my main job is kind of just helping with arrangement and lyrics. So my faith is everything in our lyrics. Our lyrics. I'm a huge fan of wordplay. So like some of my, as Rob mentioned earlier, we're transitioning into the new metal rapcore kind of like scene. And so with that being said, some of my favorite lyricists, Christian lyricists that are, current ones, like Lacey Sturm, like the way that she conveys her lyrics and just, oh my gosh, it's beautiful the way she just flows and connects. And if you know scripture, you know exactly what she's talking about in those lyrics. So it's just like, wow, that was so creative how she worded that. And I think of people like NF or, KB, their wordplay, like they can play on words and just joggle and juggle different words around and stuff. And it's wild. So my challenge as the lyricist is to not just write. I don't want to sound bad when I say this, but I don't want to write corny lyrics. So I want to write lyrics that are gonna like. One, if you are sounding your word, you'll be like, yo, dude, that was clever the way he put that together.
Mm-hmm.
I want to write lyrics where, like even when it starts, like even when we're in secular, venues and stuff like that, like we preach Jesus from the stage. We don't care, man. We're very much unashamed. I tell my testimony a lot of times from stage and tell people that it was only because of him. So we're not shy of Jesus whatsoever. And even though we may not have Jesus in the lyrics, if you listen to the lyrical content,
He's in there. Yeah.
He's in there. You'll understand what he's saying. So I wanted to be able to tickle the ears of people who listen to it and be like, yo, that people be like, man, that was a cold lyric what he said there. And like if I get excited when writing it, then I know it's a good lyric. It's how I feel about it. Because I'm probably the worst critic on writing my lyrics. So if I get excited about it, just like one of the lines from one of our new songs that I thought was so clever is in the first verse, I say, going hardcore, call me Bruce Lee. I enter the dragon and come out with Fist of Fury. So like the cool part about that is Bruce Lee's first movie was Enter the Dragon.
Right.
And his second movie was Fist of Fury. So the way that I connected the two together was like, I'm going into the dragon to train. And when I come back out of this dragon, I'm coming out with Fist of Fury to fight you and challenge you with the word of God and stuff. So I thought it was cool. And so I was like, oh, snap. Look at me thinking outside the box.
Very cool. Very cool. So is Tricord anything approaching a full-time thing? I know you said that your day job is you've got a small remodeling business. Mm-hmm. So I'm presuming Tricord's not entirely a full-time thing. So tell me about your day jobs.
Okay, I guess I'll continue with that. So yeah, I own a small remodeling business. I have this strange feeling, and I keep telling the guys this. I've been telling them this since the beginning of the year. I was like, I believe that before the end of the year, Tricord is going to be full time. It's going to be a full time whole entire ordeal. Honestly, I would say that we're kind of full time now, man. Despite the fact that we all have 9-to-5s or own our own business. Corey, he's not on here, but Corey owns a landscaping business. So, despite us having to do something to bring in a check, we still do Tricord very much full time. For instance, next month, the month of July, we'll be on the road the whole entire month.
Wow.
And, literally every single weekend we'll be out doing. We got a festival next week. We got two services the week after. Another one, and the whole month it's just all gone. With us traveling all over the place to play music.
That is awesome. So it sounds like God is really blessing the endeavor, and that is, that's a wonderful thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what would you say, if you can narrow it down to one or two little anecdotes, what have been some of the most interesting experiences that you've had playing live?
Interesting experiences.
Well,
Girls,
you have not seen Tricord unless you've seen it where I've had something completely fail. My fingers, my gear. I've had a half stack start playing radio stations through a microphone. I really can't make this stuff up. 90% of the time, if there's a technical issue, it's my fault.
95% of the time.
Okay, 95. 99.10% of the time, Rob. Okay. But technical difficulty should have been my nickname, because hopefully with moving from my old retired board to the digital board, I won't have any further issues like we did at Kingdom Come, where I'm finding out just how fast Nintendo NES had my fingers trained. But yeah, I'm hoping not to be the main cause of bloopers in the band anymore, other than if I'm telling a funny joke, which mainly aren't funny. But other than that, we've had a lot of experiences in the past 4 years. Good and bad. We we love each other and fight like brothers, but at the end of the day, it's the bond we share and the memories and the journey that we get to embark on. The entire
Awesome.
experience.
And for the record, we can only throw hands with each other. Don't nobody else try to throw hands with us.
Yeah.
That's full smackdown.
So, what would each of you say is your favorite Tricord song to play live?
Ooh.
Oh,
Into
what you
the
got,
storm.
hands down?
Into the storm.
Mm.
I
No,
love
it's
Let It Rain at the end, the praise part.
I will say with what Charles saying, tagging the worship song "Let It Rain" at the end of that's always a big movement at each place we played. Doesn't matter if it's a secular venue or a church. That's always a big movement. But for me, as far as like energy and hype, it's got to be the new single that's coming out next month. What You Got? It's just so. Oh my gosh, I can't help but to freaking jump around the stage. And at the last one that we just did in Texas, in Dallas, I got off the stage and ran into people. It was
Yeah, he did.
That's a hype song. That's a hype song.
I was like, Rob's stage presence just hit 10,000.
I was still playing bass while running into people. It was great.
Yeah, he was. Right, not missing a beat.
Nice.
I would say, oh man, dude, it's a toss up between What You Got, Fix Me, and Into the Storm. Because like Rob said, What You Got is just like right in your face. It's full of energy from the beginning to the end. And oh my gosh, doing it in Texas was fun because we got people to do. There's like a little choir chant part in that song in the chorus, and we got the people in the crowd to do it, and it was the coolest thing ever. It was so fun. Fix Me. I saw Jennifer on here in the comment section. Jennifer said it in a comment the other day, and she said it the best. I really get like emotionally into Fix Me. Like I when I sing that song, I'm singing it like my life is depending on it. I just love it. The passion of the lyrics to me is just really huge. And Into the Storm really honestly is probably, I love Born to Be a King because it's just so fun, and a lot of people love Born to Be a King. But Into the Storm is probably my favorite song. It just really is.
Very cool. Yeah, I want to let people know, we're coming up on the 1 hour point, and I know, I think Instagram has some limits on how long you can stream. So if the Instagram feed happens to shut off, y'all, just those of you that are watching on Instagram, look in my link tree and go to YouTube or Twitter, and we'll, if Instagram shuts down, we'll be continuing over there. So you guys have kind of answered my next question, and that is, being Christian artists, obviously you don't necessarily limit yourselves strictly to Christian venues.
Right.
So and that's a good thing. So tell me about some of the experiences that you guys have had playing in non-Christian venues, and some of the positives and negatives you guys have had out of that.
One of the only ones now Crimson Overtone has had a few, but one of the only ones I can really think of was when we were in Sebring, Florida. It was a coffee shop / bar that we were at. And that one was super cool, man. There were quite a few people there, and none of them really were church people. As a matter of fact, that one was probably one of my favorites because there were one of the ladies that was working the bar. Her son and a couple of his friends were with her because I guess she didn't have a babysitter or whatever. And those kids had the time of their life. You would have thought that we were like the biggest thing like that ever like happened to those kids' lives musically and stuff like that. And they were so fun. It was just really cool. But going back to what Rob said, I'll never forget this. I'll never forget this moment of us doing Into the Storm, and we did the Let It Rain part. And like we had I always like try to get people to like lift their hands and just like worship or whatever. And we had everybody in that place, man, like just lifting their hands and worshiping and stuff. And I was like, ooh, if y'all don't know Jesus, y'all know him now. That was a really cool thing, man. So
yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah.
So this is a question that I've asked in all 27 of these that I've done, and it's become my favorite question. And that is, if you could give any advice, knowing what you know now, if you could give any advice to your younger selves, what would it be?
Don't do it. You'll be broke. No, No. For real though, I mean, I am broke, but that's okay. Oh man, I think. So early on, just total transparency here. Early on, and this is before I even met Tricord. Early on with my original band, Crimson Overtone, I wanted things so like right and perfect and spot on and like, hey, like nail this on the one every time. Don't mess up. We're professional musicians. Like we need to behave this way. And to an extent, I'm still like that because we are professional musicians and we should behave as such when we're playing and recording our music. But I was like super anal about it. And it took a lot of the fun out of it for me and for my other bandmates in the other band. And I would probably go back and just, first of all, slap myself in the face because I didn't listen to anybody back then. And like let myself know like, yo, it's cool to be precise. It's cool to be professional, but you need to let yourself have fun. You need to let yourself let loose. That's why I was talking about, even when you asked about, when we were talking about influences and stuff like that, and I was talking about precision and creativity. That's why I do a lot of practicing on my own, by myself to be precise, so that when I do hit the stage or when I do get around these other guys, I'm not being, super anal about being precise. I can just focus on having fun because I've already made sure that I'm going to be precise when I was doing my own practice. So definitely go back in time and say, stop distracting me. Definitely go back in time and tell myself to just focus more on having fun with the people that I'm doing music with.
Sounds good. What about you, the other two here?
Acting like fools. I'm trying to talk.
If I could go back and tell a younger me something, I guess I would tell myself to take what others say with a grain of salt. I may be one in a million, but if God has a purpose for your life and a plan, everything aligns up and according to His will. then the sky's the limit. Yeah, being a musician may seem far fetched. There's a world slap full of them, but if you use what he's given you, talents, abilities, blessings for the kingdom and not the world, then he is going to continue to open doors and just it is blessing after blessing. So I would tell myself, stay strong, continue learning, perfecting the craft, and just, keep the dream alive.
Absolutely. What about you, Jermaine?
So what I would tell my younger self is just trust the process, man. God has huge plans for you, and huger than you think or could imagine, bro. You're going to encounter some people that you would have never thought you would even be in the same room with. And everything that you're about to go through, bro, it's going to be rough, but trust the process. It's all part of what God is trying to do to make you into the man that he's trying to make you into. I wouldn't really say I would change much or really warn myself other than trust the process and just slow down. Slow down, trust the process, bro.
Awesome. Wise words. Wise words from all three of you guys. And that's why that's my favorite recurring question that I ask. I have gotten some of the best responses to that question. So, do you guys have any suggestions for any other bands to check out or possibly to reach out to do one of these chats? I've heard about the other band, Crimson Overtone. I actually reached out and I hadn't heard anything back, but
oh man, all right, I'll respond back to you personally. I got you covered.
Okay. Cool.
No.
Wow, Robert.
I mean, I'm not in charge of communications anymore, but I got you.
No, that's
I'll
fine.
reach out.
That's fine. So aside from Crimson Overtone, any other suggestions for other bands to check out or reach out to for one of these?
Oh yeah, definitely. Go to Resurrection Records.
Yeah, Resurrection
Records. Go to our label. We have a lot of great artists on there, and as a matter of fact, I'm sure that any of them will be willing to do an interview with you, Matt. And I am sure that, man, go to Resurrection Records.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will say, if you're looking for a really, really dope bass player type interview, I'm mentioning them specifically because they're not on the label. It's a band called Undefeated. Their bass player, Lise, she's phenomenal. And being as young as she is, because she's still in her teens, being as young as she is and being as phenomenal on the bass as she is, definitely worth reaching out and trying to get an interview with them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So something else that I've done in every one of these, and it's just been a lot of fun, is I have the person or people being interviewed pose a question for the next folks in the hot seat. And my last guest was Woody Hughes from Divine Martyr. Cool. And he posed the question, is there another instrument of any kind that you don't presently play that you would love to learn how?
Yes.
Okay.
Piano 100%. And I plan on starting to learn it, but I wish I had picked it up sooner, because the theory and the technique that comes with playing piano just takes all the other musicianship to another level. So piano for sure.
I could have taught you that.
Shut up.
As odd as it may seem, is violin for me.
Ooh.
Very cool.
Interesting.
My one of my dream instruments of the 20,000 instruments I play is the cello. I want to learn how to play cello proficiently.
Nice.
That's dope.
Nice.
Or can you imagine cello on stage to some of our music? That'd be wild.
Bro, me rapping and screaming with a cello while playing cello?
What,
That'd be
a sick breakdown with a cello?
The orchestral tour.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be. So, since this is a series, is there a question or questions that you would like to ask the next person in the hot seat?
Want to go on a tour with Tricord?
Yo, I'm cool with that question, actually.
What about you, Rob?
I don't know if I can answer.
I thought he was frozen.
No, I'm not frozen. I was thinking. What did I didn't hear what Charles says because his microphone was breaking up. What did you say?
Do you want to go on a tour with Tricord?
Yeah, that's what you said?
Yeah, that's booby trap.
Yeah, that's what he said. That was his question.
Oh, okay. I just was making sure that that's what you said. I didn't, like I said, your microphone's messing up. Yes, but what he said, I agree with his answer.
Cool. So, we're getting toward the end of this now. So do you guys have any shows coming up you want to hype, or any new material coming out that you want to hype?
Yeah. As I stated earlier, okay, so we got I'll just name a few of them because we got a lot of shows, and sitting here and naming them is going to be ridiculous. Huge ones we have. I'll name the huge ones that we have. We have Audio Feed next week. We have RH2 Ministries, where we'll be opening up for Relent. We have Chains Unchained. We have CeeLo Production, where we'll actually be playing with Divine Martyr and Brutality. We have a headline one in August. Oh my goodness, what is the name of it?
Rock in the River?
Forge in August. And then Broken Bottle in September, and Rock in the River in October, where we'll also be headlining. And Metal Grace is the last one of the year. Those are the big ones to highlight. We have a bunch of other ones in between, but those are the biggest ones that we wanted to highlight. Oh, Resurrection Record Fest. I forgot about that one.
Yep,
Resurrection Record Fest in October as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to get Brutality on here.
I'm sure it's possible.
They're crazy. They're awesome.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are. So, do you guys have any new material coming out anytime soon?
July 19th.
Yes, we do.
July
19th. July 19th, we have a new song. The one we were talking about, What You Got, it's coming out.
Well, cool. I was asking that, so that y'all can give it some hype, and also, each month I do a new music spotlight show. I'd love to actually have you guys come back on either another live or we could pre-record something. If you aren't available on the day, we would play the song in its entirety and basically have you guys talk a little bit about it. The meaning, the songwriting process, the recording process, stuff like that. So if you guys would be up for it, I'd love to give you all some exposure for the song coming up.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. You guys have been absolutely amazing. So, thank y'all for your time. And, for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you for hanging out with us. And for those of you guys that are going to be watching this in replays, thank you for that as well. If you like what we've got going on here, continue to spread the word, and let's continue to have this thing grow. Tomorrow night, I've actually got Drew from the band Echo Pilot. They're from Nashville, and he's going to be on with me tomorrow night at again at 7 p.m. And then Sunday night, I've got a band from Charlotte, North Carolina called Hellfire 76. And I actually saw them play back in May here in the Atlanta area. And they'll be on with me Sunday at 7 p.m. And that basically takes us through the rest of this week. And then I've got some stuff coming up next week as well. But anyway, like I said, thank you guys. And this has just been an absolute blast. So any final words?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. And we'll go ahead and just say goodnight. Everybody. What'd you say?
I was muted. I was trying to say last words and I was muted.
Oh, you're muted?
Oh, yeah. Goodness gracious. For anybody who's listening live, we're going to listen back on the playback. Just know that God loves you and your life. You listening to this was for a reason and for a purpose. Your life has meaning and purpose. So keep pushing, keep climbing, keep going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was beautifully said.
Thanks.
So anyway, everybody have a wonderful rest of your night and a safe and enjoyable weekend. And I'll be back tomorrow night at 7. And